Hey, thank you for tuning in with Daniel and I. We are diving into some topics that might challenge the way you think. And quite frankly, that's the point. So we invite you to grab an open mind, a sense of humor, and perhaps a lot of curiosity, because as always, it's about to get real. So we are here to share our personal experiences and combine it with our professional career as hypnotists. But we are not here preaching. There's no perfect answers. We are seriously just two imperfect humans exploring life's messy, beautiful, and sometimes downright awkward truths. We are not here to tell you how to live your life. We are here to spark curiosity, offer support, and help you with mindset shifts and maybe even give you a good laugh. Our goal is to create space where all ideas are welcome, even the uncomfortable ones, to offer support to those who might feel isolated, unsure about their life adventure. And we want to make clear that we respect everyone's unique journey and ask for the same in return. So let's keep it curious and kind and have some fun. And today we are going to talk about
Wait,
kind of like,
wait, wait.
uh-oh,
I
wait,
don't
pause.
consent to any of that you just said. So
I
this
don't
is
like you. I'm done. Let's
Jamie
quit.
just Jamie's just speaking for herself because she has no right to speak for me. I have my own voice. Okay. Anyway,
Okay,
I'm just
then
kidding. I'm just
what's
kidding.
your disclaimer? Nope, nope, nope. You are not. This was my disclaimer. So I included you in the beginning. And guess what? Now I am unincluding you. I don't, is that a word? I made it a word if it's not. I think it is. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. Either way, you are unincluded in my disclaimer. So let's hear yours. Waiting.
My disclaimer is you think whatever you want to
You're in
think.
charge of your own
I
fucking life. No.
Yeah. Choice is the most powerful thing that you have. So choose to listen to
Pretty
us.
much.
Yeah.
Good times. Good
There it
times.
is. There it is.
Okay. Well, mine was better than yours. So I win.
Matter of
We
opinion.
should keep
Anyway,
tallies of how many times we say, I win. Anyways, today we are going to talk about staying calm in the midst of like life storms and kind of tailoring like road rage into it. And I thought that was appropriate. Like I have so many stories and I think we all do. And oh my gosh, I hate road rage, but let's be real. Like when I'm driving along and someone's an asshole and I feel it in the core of me that I just want to light shit on fire. And I'm like, we can control this. Where I used to just get really angry. And now I'll feel it on the inside and I'll tell myself all these things and start reflecting and I'll work through it. But there is one case not long ago that really pissed me off. And I still think about it. But, where's
well,
that person now?
I'm a truck driver. Okay. So let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. I'm a truck driver. So road rage is a regular fight for me. um it's yeah, it's a regular battle for me just for the simple fact that especially in a truck, if you've never driven a truck, you don't know how a truck operates. Okay. When you're in your little compact car and you decide that it's a good idea to weave in and out of traffic and use your brakes when it's probably not the best idea to use your brakes. We trucks can't do that, especially when we're like fully loaded because we're hauling, 75, 80,000 pounds. And yeah, so smart.
This this does not come from a place of judgment. This literally comes from a place of I'm not. It's probably that people just don't think about it. I think about things and I wonder, and my curiosity, gets a hold of me. But I don't know how you can't know that. I don't know how you can't understand that. I've never been a truck driver. I've never been married to or dated a truck driver. I think my ex-husband used to drive dump truck, but I really knew nothing about that, and I know that if you're too close to the semi, they can't see you if you're following and you're too close. And I know that you really probably don't want to cut a semi off because that could be detrimental. I'm aware that you can't slam on your brakes. And I knew all this before we started talking. So I can't imagine. I know some of your stories, but I'm kind of curious. How do you stay calm in the midst of that? Because you've shared some things with me, and there's times where I'm out driving and I'm like, oh, if that was Daniel right now, he'd probably be pissed. Not at me, but
Well,
by things that
yeah,
I've seen.
I just generally scream, shout, give the finger. Been thinking about carrying a brick in the truck. I don't know
I
if
was gonna
that's
say,
gonna
do you
work.
throw rocks out the window?
I will tell you this story though. No, I don't. I don't do any of that. Look, I'm gonna be honest. There's times where I have those frustrating moments, and more oftentimes than not, the frustrating moments are more. I get more frustrated with family style vehicles like minivans and things like that because my first initial thought is as a father of four, my first initial thought is if something happens and I harm a child, and I will have the hardest time forgiving myself and getting over that. That's my first, and that raises my level of frustration with who's ever driving the vehicle. You know what I mean? I know like maybe it sounds like a weird place to go to, but as a father, I guess that's what I think about a lot. So that's kind of where I go, and I don't always deal with the best. I'll be honest. One of the things that I've learned to do is
Wait, pause. Don't forget your train of thought.
go ahead.
Because you said, I don't always handle it the best, but I'm willing to bet that you handle it way better than you used to.
Yes, well, that's what. Yeah,
With the,
I actually
yes.
where I was getting ready
Yes.
to go is a it's something I kind of learned within the scope of NLP, neuro linguistic programming. When and it's I don't even know we know a specific technique. I just remember I kind of pieced this together myself, but it's basically viewing something from more of a third person perspective. And so sometimes I will kind of almost, and I've learned to do this obviously, but dissociate from my point of view and even from what I'm feeling in the moment, and just kind of look at it from an outside perspective, like I'm just a fly on the wall, as the old saying goes. And that will have a tendency to help. And sometimes when I do get keyed up, because I will, when I do get keyed up, I will generally kind of start to do that almost on autopilot because I've done it so much. And so from there, I will usually crack a joke, make something funny, and then move on from it. Because I understand the negative side of holding on to anger and not just kind of releasing it and dealing with it and moving on from it, because when you hold on to it, it becomes this snowball of things. But yeah.
Yeah, I had a road rage experience probably last summer, I think. Um, I had my cruise control set and I have a newer vehicle, so it keeps the distance between the vehicle in front of me. And I kept it like that. Traffic was thick. Nobody could go anywhere. And I was in the fast lane, going faster than the people in the slow lane, but it still wasn't moving that fast. And there was a little gap that ended up in the right lane next to me. And this girl behind me was riding my ass, just like hardcore. And I'm like, whatever. I'm just going to mind my own business. I didn't let it get to me until like she passed me, like zoomed past me and then cut in front of me. Then I got pissed. And so I started reflecting, like, why am I so angry? Like, these are her actions. But the truth is, her actions are putting my life and a lot of other people's lives in danger. And
Mhm.
so it's important to recognize that when when road rage is happening, to recognize why you're being mad. Because if I'm being mad because I'm like, she's just with a bunch of cuss words and she's this and she's that and how dare she and who does she think she is? Well, that's different than you're putting everybody's life in danger,
Mhm.
that type of anger. And that's where I was. And I think that's why I've still held on to that because her actions could have caused a huge accident. And that's probably why I never let it. I mean, like I'm not angry about it anymore, but I think about it because it was quite scary. Um, but I dug deep and I reflected within myself. And I think that that's a huge key to ask yourself in situations, not even with driving and road rage, but other situations to really ask yourself, why am I mad?
I had a
And
had a similar
go
instance
ahead.
where this um I don't know if it was man, woman, whatever, but this driver was trying to pass me on the left. I was in the middle lane. The far left lane was ending. I was in the middle lane passing other vehicles. I wasn't just hanging out in the middle lane, but I was in the middle lane passing other vehicles. And this car on the left, plenty of signs for like 3 miles saying the left lane was going to end. So this car on the left
Oh,
decides that they're just going to hang out back there, and probably got about halfway. Our vehicle's probably, well, yeah, those are probably about 60 feet at this point because I drive a day cab now. But um, but so she decides that she's just going to keep going, even though plenty of signs saying that the lane is ending. And she gets about halfway up my trailer. You know, I can't just lock it up. She's not
mhm.
like trying to speed past me. She gets about halfway up my trailer and the lane just starts ending. She has to literally lock it up in the traffic to keep from smashing into the concrete barrier that's, in protecting the median. And I'm like,
Wow.
what are you thinking, woman? Or man or whatever the heck. I think it was a woman. I think because when I was looking in my mirror, I think it was a woman. Because I remember seeing the long hair, I believe. Yeah. Could be a man. But I mean, yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's one. But regardless, that's irrelevant. But but it's just the point that I thought, like, are you in that big of a hurry? Because sometimes I just wonder sometimes if like we've gotten such a microwave generation to where everything's quick and easy, right?
Yeah.
That we've gotten so much in a hurry to get nowhere special that we put our own lives at risk. And I one of the things, I'm actually going to go here because I was thinking about this the other day. It's a little bit of a maybe a rant, maybe kind of just a curiosity. I don't know, but because you said something about like the brake assist, the sensor on the front of your vehicle, because our trucks have it too. And you know, I look around and because I remember as a kid playing video games, right? And I played RPG video games, which is role playing genre video games, right? And RPG games are where you have to, they're strategy type games. You have to figure out puzzles, different places to go. Um, you got to find things like artifacts and keys and stuff like that to advance in the game, right? Well, back when I was a kid, like you had to figure that stuff out. Like there was no like, oh, here's how you do it. Or you had to hope and pray that it came out in the next, video game magazine like Game Informer or something like that. And in order to get like tips or tricks or something like that, right? Nowadays the video games, even RPG games, they have like if you're trying to find a specific artifact or something, they have like this little icon on your map that shows you exactly where to go. And you follow this icon right to the point, right to the place of where that thing is, or the person or whatever it is you got to do. And I was just thinking the other day, I'm like, have we gotten so,
I say it, impatient.
yeah, and just so this extreme aversion to actually doing something that involves thinking
Mhm.
and labor, and actually contemplating and figuring things out. Like, have we gotten to the place to where we just expect things to be handed to us? Like these little devices, right? It's like, have we gotten to the place to where we want everything just to be simple, quick, and easy, and on the spot, and we won't have to do any kind of work for it? I mean, I'm okay with simple. You know, I like I work out and things like that, and I do this right now. My specific workout is 5 days a week. I set aside time for this. And is it easy? Hell no, it ain't easy. There's times where, look, I work 60 hours a week. There's times where I don't, I don't feel like working out. There's times where it's like it'd be easier if I did.
Mhm.
But I also understand the fact that in order to get where I want to go, there's a simple solution, but there's no easy solution, right? The simple solution is you work out. You have a specific routine that you do. And so I don't know. I was just I kind of went off on the rant there, but but and I'm
But
kind of
I feel like it ties in, honestly. I mean, because think about it. Like you said, when we were younger growing up, we had to figure everything out. Nothing was like really handed to us. Not to mention we're Gen X because we had to literally figure everything out and we had to sustain ourselves, right? But when it comes to our society now and how it plays in, everything is handed to us in a lot of different ways. I mean, now we have AI coming or here, dominant. People are kind of in the midst of exploring that. Well, does it make everything easier? It does. It makes a lot of things easier. The things that you can ask AI and the the responses you get, what does it do? It taps down on our creativity of our own mind. But also, because the answers are not dominantly like right here when we have to figure it out ourselves, that can cause frustration, impatience, almost like an anger type of a feeling because like we're so used to having it now. And if it's not working that way, then what? So that's where I think that a lot of our society is having a problem with emotional regulation because we are so used to that. Like you said, in the video games years ago, you had to figure it out. Now there's just this little icon that tells you what to do.
mm-hmm.
So, what is that doing to our minds?
Well, and
We're really getting a lazy mind. I mean, maybe in some ways it's enhancing, right? There, I'm sure if we sat down and dug deep, we could figure out all the pros and the ways that it's because like now I'm going off, but like if you do enter something like into AI and you ask it to be super creative, the answers it gives you can also open up new neural pathways in your mind. Like, oh, I didn't think of that. That's a really good idea. And then branch off into other things. But it also can cut back on our creativity because we're not necessarily thinking of a lot of the things ourselves. I'm just using AI as an example. So many people are kind of scared of it. If it's used the right way, it's good. Um, but it's like that in so many areas. Even meals, you can have all your food prepared, mailed to your house. So where's the creativity in maybe cooking? I don't know how they all work, but I mean, what about going to the store and getting your essential items and putting that energy of yours with love and respect into that food and creating it for yourself, because there's proof there too. That energy goes from you into your food. If you're pissed off when you're making your food's going to have bad energy. If you're happy when you're making your food's going to have good energy. Oh my gosh, I could keep going. Look what we started.
Well, and to that point, it's because man, there's a lot of different ways. I'm going to make 2 points here. One is the whole um uh, uh Uber Eats and DoorDash, and listen, I know some people that do DoorDash, so I'm not opposed to that, because some of the places they deliver to are like, hospitals, office buildings, things like that, where people can't get out, actually just leave work and stuff like that. So I think that's a convenient thing used in that right context. But having talked to these people also while they're door dashing, and they tell me, oh, I went to this house that was 3 miles away from the store to deliver like three items that cost them like $10, $12 for me to pick up, above and beyond what it actually costs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I make money from it, but they're like, that's kind of mind blowing. And I hear that and I think, geez, man, have we gotten that lazy to the point to where it's like we don't want to drive 3 miles? And again, I understand if like people have car issues, can't get out, things like that, health
Yeah.
issues, stuff like. So don't hear me wrong. I'm not opposed to all these things. What I am saying though is that I know there's times where it's just like I just don't want to do a thing. I just want to have it done for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we wonder why, as a society, we're largely unfulfilled. Because you said something there, you hit on something about making your own food and stuff like that. There's a certain level of fulfillment in creating something and then watching it come together, or, bake, cook, right? Watching it come together and then getting the enjoyment out of actually eating it, and whatever the case may be. And I think some of this bleeds over into the shiny object syndrome, right? We live in such a information age that we're constantly looking for the next thing to fulfill us, when really the problem is not gaining more knowledge or gaining more skills or whatever the case may be. The issue more is about the fact that we're not creating something that really will fulfill us. We're looking for fulfillment in knowledge versus applying that knowledge and creating and building something that will actually fulfill that desire in us, because we're built, really, we're built to create, we're built to, I mean, you know it's trying to constrain myself here, maybe I shouldn't. I mean,
I know my brain is all over. I'm like, wait, I
yeah,
want to see this. I want to see that.
but
Keep
but
going.
it's even like, it's even like, for instance, the human race depends on us reproducing. Right? That is a level that, and that's creation. Okay, if we stop having babies, the human race would die out. So that's our basic need. You know what I mean? And the point of that is the fact that we're meant to create. It's our it's one of our core
It's our
foundations.
it's our birthright.
It literally is, and that's the reason why we have a birthright. It's because our mom, our dad decide to create a life, or accidentally. I don't know, but 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 the point is, though, is that like we have that innate desire to create, to grow, to build, in essence, something, and then enjoy watching it mature and come to fruition, and all the things. And that's one of the things I want to circle back to working out as well. because I know now that we have the Ozempic thing, right? It's a weight loss drug that you just get a shot and it curbs your hunger and all this other stuff. One, there's horrible side effects of this, or can be. And then two, once you start it, it's never just a one time thing. You have to continually do it, or all the things just come back. Now, as somebody who kind of specializes in weight loss using hypnosis and also complementing that with working out and dietary things and stuff like that, that I've spent last few years studying, or well, a lot of years studying, but specifically the last couple of years. But the point is that, like, it it's not easy, but it is simple. However, we want somebody to do it for us. We want somebody just to stab us with a needle and make all our problems go away. And again, you mentioned AI. I use AI, but again, I use AI to build and create.
Mm.
I don't use AI to get things more easy and just avoid working. I use AI to complement the work that I'm doing.
Exactly. And then reframe it when you're done to make it your own.
Right.
That's what I
100%.
do. Yeah.
I don't just like put something in AI and be like, oh, that's good enough. Let's slap it on a piece of paper, or so to speak, screen, whatever you want to call it, document. But again, it's I think we have an incredible opportunity to use the tools that we have to create something. But we've gotten to this place to where we think that the fulfillment is in gaining the knowledge instead of applying the knowledge.
That that word right there, that's so huge. And I firmly believe, like, with my clientele base, that's the number one thing that seems to be lacking in the majority of my clientele base is that fulfillment. There's so many things there, and that lack of self-fulfillment and happiness and drive, and it causes so much confusion in people. Like, they don't know what's wrong with them, because I feel like in our society, my brain is going in 50 million different places. Which one do I pick? Which one do I pick? Um, in our society, there's so much that's lacking with connection, creativity, and all the things, like we said before, things are kind of just handed to us now. There's not a whole lot to figure out. That causes what? Like, people focusing more on the problems. Lack of There's like that lack of, like, peopling, person to person. You don't need conversations and text messages or emails where things are miscommunicated. That causes frustration. You can take something so wrong. I messaged someone the other day and they completely took what I said in a way that I couldn't see coming until after they said it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't, what? Okay. But then that can cause a problem in frustration and anger. So I think it's safe to take a step back and ask yourself, what could the other person's perspective be? And is there something within myself where I'm feeling that lack of fulfillment that's causing a lot of extra emotions that, maybe wouldn't be there if the fulfillment was there? Because oh my goodness, I get so many clients that are like, I need to work on something, but I don't know what it is. Can you help me? That's actually my favorite, because it's like starting a brand new puzzle. Yes, let's put the puzzle pieces together and figure out what you need. And a lot of times it is loss of identity, because we need that purpose. We need that drive. We need that connection. Without those, there are so many mixed emotions that go through our human body due to lack of, and it can cause a lot of crazy thoughts and crazy things to happen inside of us. So, um, let me see here. I have some notes just going
Hmm.
through to make sure.
I know my head's going like in many different directions. I'm over here
I
just
know.
pondering. We're pondering
I
life
know.
about everything. It's
So
like, man, this is crazy.
it is. It is. So obviously, I know a million different ways and techniques, but I want to try to stay on point. So I'm going to read a few notes that I have, but share actionable strategies like mindful breathing. And you can do this with yourself and you can, share them with other people. Like obviously in the right tone, right? You don't want to be like, do this or do that. You just want to, hey, when I feel this way, this is what I do. So share these things. Like in body scan, notice where in your body like you're feeling that frustration, you're feeling that anger, and kind of like say, hey, I see you. It's okay, I understand, but we can also release this. It's like validating it and then kind of like letting it work its way through instead of just pushing it down and avoiding it. um Self-reflection, like I always talk about those powerful those powerful questions that you ask yourself. You can always set intentions too, like before a situation that could be hairy. That is a good, I've done that before. Like, okay, I'm going in with this group of people and I don't know which way this could go. So what are some things I could talk about, or how can I switch conversations if they go bad, or things like that. Um, yeah, and you can always reframe things, but definitely tap into yourself and go into like maybe a little bit of a deep breathing meditative state and say some nice things to yourself. Like, and I know they sound corny, but they really do work. Like, I believe in myself. Like, I can do this. Like, I cannot control other people, but I can control how I perceive and how I react to things, because that's the fact. You cannot control anyone else, you can only control yourself. So yeah, it's it's a beautiful thing when you can recognize it. It will give you a lot of freedom, but getting there,
You know,
I think I think the best advice I could say is don't think about getting there, just keep taking the baby steps, and then one day you're going to look back and be like, "Holy shit, how far I've come." I believe Daniel and I can both attest to that because that's kind of what
right.
happened to us.
Well, and one of the things I'll even add to that is the idea of a pattern interrupt. So when you're kind of in that frustrated place or anything, even like road rage and stuff we used to talk about, right? Do something that's offhanded. Do something that's like, or say something to yourself like a joke. Think about something different. Shift to, a different person entirely. And the reason why I say this is because what happens is, and we know this from like Gestalt therapy. So within road rage, that person that cuts you off becomes them. I can't believe they did that. Why does this always happen to me? Right? We know I've
Mhm.
done it. I know we all have.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But what that tells you is that this is a pattern that your mind is looking for. It's a weird thing to say it that way, but it really is. It becomes a gestalt, which is basically like the snowball effect, right? Things just get worse and worse and worse and worse. So
Or the
when
rabbit trail. A lot of people use the rabbit trail as a
yeah,
scenario down the rabbit hole or whatever.
so when you hear yourself saying that kind of language, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe this happens all the time. I can't believe those people do this. When you hear yourself saying that language, one, stop for a second and say, and just think to yourself, well, who is they? Who is them? Because it's just that one person driving, because there's only one person driving the vehicle. Right. So that's the first thing. And then secondly, the pattern interrupt that I was talking about is think about your favorite drink, think about your favorite destination, think about your favorite person, right? Anything like that. Think about your kid, think about something that you know is going to be completely in a whole different direction from where you're at in the moment. These are conscious things. Obviously, hypnosis can help with anger and all the things, but consciously, with that right there, something you can do in the moment that I can definitely give you a tip on is just hit that pattern interrupt. Think about something entirely different. Think about something offhanded. Think about anything or anybody that's not in the moment.
I think the beautiful thing of that is people forget that our minds, the places our minds can take us. We talk about a staycation. You can go on a staycation every day within your mind and you can make it magical. Like when we were kids, what did we do? We got in trouble for daydreaming, and that was like the best thing for us. Daydreaming is where all the creativity comes from. Like the benefits of daydreaming is just phenomenal. And if I would have thought I was going to bring this up, I would have looked up more statistics on it just to share. But the one thing we got in trouble is when we were kids for daydreaming is like the one thing we need in our life. So you can go off on some tropical island and you can make it magical. A lot of times when I'm doing hypnosis with clients, I'll take them to like the forest and I'll say this is a magical forest where the animals are friendly and the bugs are non-bothersome and it's allergy free, and you can mix all different environments into yours. You can have, from Wisconsin to like the tropics to, I don't know, some desert, Africa and all over the place. It's just like you can mix and match anything to make the most magical thing happen. And that is so fun. I think that's one of my favorite things about the hypnotic world is how
Yep.
fun it can be with your imagination. And it can just really light you up inside. Like, oh my gosh, this is fun. What if this were real? And the truth is, it's honestly a gift that you're giving yourself because nobody else in the world will have that same imagery that you have. That's priceless. So
Awesome. And that's that again, that's the pattern interrupt. A lot of people think that the most powerful tool that you have is willpower. That is 100% incorrect. That is probably the weakest tool that you have. The most powerful tool that you have is your subconscious mind, which is also where your imagination lies. So, what you said, imagining all those other different things during that kind of moment can spark all kinds of different emotions that are actually pleasant and good and productive, and not just anger that you know builds up and snowballs out of control to the point. This is where we get those really, and we think that, but like we'll see them like post on Facebook or Instagram or whatever the case may be, of these people, getting out of their cars in the middle of traffic and just start brawling and fighting each other, right? That's not just that moment. That's the moment we see, but I guarantee you at least one of those people have allowed this to snowball out of control to the place to where it's just built up so much over time that they just explode. They just kind of, they've had enough, and like a volcano, there's so much pressure, and they just keep, they use that language. Those people, I can't believe that, those people cut me off and things like that, and it just snowballs out of control until there's a breaking point, because there is for everybody. If you don't process things like that, there's a breaking point for everybody.
this is why building that healthy relationship with yourself is so essential
Yep.
because you want to learn what makes you tick. You want to learn how you work and how you can maneuver, how you can make the positive things and the happiness grow even more, and how you can take the struggles, because no matter who you are in this world, you're going to have struggles. You're going to have the pissed off moments that you're disappointed in yourself for not controlling. But instead of being pissed off, you have the opportunity to switch it and to learn from it and to grow from it. And that's how you start building that foundation with yourself. I'm not at all, and I've heard you say this too, Daniel, but I'm not at all the person I used to be. And I've said it several times. I say it all the time, actually. And my kids their eyes will bulge out of their head and they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is so true. Because I have chosen to learn about who I am, how I work, what my intentions are, what are my needs, and like, am I self-fulfilling? Am I taking care of me? And then after that, looking to other people as a bonus, because we're humans, we need humans, right? Looking to other people as a bonus in my life to enhance it, or am I just completely dependent on other people to make me happy? That's where I used to be because I didn't know any different, you know. Now I have this relationship with myself where I'm like, okay, I take care of me. Anyone else in my life is an extra bonus. We're humans, we need humans, but that foundation with yourself, that's the magical key to actually living. And it
100%.
kind of breaks my heart. It breaks my heart when I see people. 'Cause sometimes I can see people and I'm like, oh my gosh, they just don't even know who they are. And I'm like, I feel sad for them. Like on some level, I also know that it's somewhat of a choice, right? But I'm
Well,
like,
and I'm right there
because
with
if
you because I know what that feels like. I know what it
yeah,
feels like to be like, good Lord, I don't know who I am, what I want. I don't have, at the time when I was, younger, just to a few years ago when discovering hypnosis and things, I had no confidence, no sense of self-worth. I felt very much out of control of my life. I felt very much like anybody and everybody else was in control of my life but me.
and
And
you like, I don't know about you, but it was so important that everybody liked me. And I was always trying to get everyone's approval. Like,
yep.
not anymore. Now it's like, well, if you
Well,
like me, great. And if you don't, that's
that's fine
okay.
too. It's like I made it this far without you. I think I'll make it a little bit. And that's the same way with me. There was always that fear of man, that fear of rejection, that fear of like, oh, what if what are they going to think if I say this or do this or whatever? And now I'm just like, well, if they don't like what I say and do, if they don't like the person that I am, then hey, so be it. That's fine. I mean, I'm not meant for everybody. There's almost 8 billion people on this planet. Go find
Right.
somebody who you resonate with, and I'm just going to keep being me. So
Yeah. And I think, well, I don't think, I know that's one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast with you is because we obviously, there are some personal conversations that we have that we keep between us because they're not really meant for public, but we're just us. We're just, we're just us. This, like what you hear, this is like really us. And,
mhm.
um, it's easy to fall into the pressures of the world because Daniel's like, okay, in season 2, we're going to go on YouTube. I'm like, oh, great. So I actually have to comb my hair. And,
I didn't.
we say our jokes back and forth. And he'll be like, yeah, now you have to actually try to look good, just goofing around and stuff. But, I'm in some podcasting groups like on social media and stuff like that. And a lot of them are like, what should I do? How should I place the camera? Like, I'm supposed to look at the camera all the time because that looks more professional. And that's honest to God okay for them. If they're going for that professional feel, that's perfect. However, working with you, Daniel, that's one thing I love is like we're going to go on YouTube and we're still just going to do what we did before behind the scenes. I mean, making crazy faces at each other and laughing at each other and joking around. And it's like, okay, good, because I don't like that pressure of having to just be professional. We are
Perform.
professionals, but perform. Like we're down to earth people. We're in this business to help other people, not to be better than, not to like step in and show up. We're just authentic people because I'm afraid like I don't want anyone to take that as in like I'm cutting anyone else down because that's not what it is. This is what
No,
works for us. That is what
and,
works for them.
and that's the beauty of it is like, if that's something that's important to you, then 100% do it. But make sure it's important to you for the reason that first and foremost, it's important to you. It's not important to
Yes.
how you look to other people. Okay.
Right.
And look, like when we're talking back and forth, okay, I'm looking at you on the screen. I'm not, my
Mm-hmm.
camera's up here, like, I can see the camera up here, right?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at you on the screen because I'm talking to you. We've invited people into our conversations. That's the point of this podcast, that's how we started it. And so when I'm looking at you, it's not that I don't care about anybody listening, because obviously that's why we're doing this, is to invite people into this conversation. But at the same time, I still want to keep that realness of, hey, I'm talking to you and other people listening in.
Yeah.
And that's, it's also one of the things. I follow another podcast who's on YouTube as well, and it's called the Higher Up Wellness Podcast, Michael Smoke. And he has these guests on that talk about a lot of interesting things. Love this dude. But he will, and most time they have like this kind of studio place that he actually interviews people in. And you even see this like Joe Rogan, right? The biggest podcast in the world. You never see Joe Rogan look at the screen, look at the camera. I mean, you see Joe Rogan sitting here, like if there's somebody off over here, Joe Rogan sitting here, and you'll watch him look at that person, look at the microphone. He'll look back at the person, then he'll just conversate with them. You never see him look at the camera, yet he has the biggest podcast in the world. And this other guy's, the Higher Up Wellness Podcast, same way. He'll sit there and way back here in this chair, like this right here, and he's talking to somebody over here. And I don't know that I've ever seen him look at the camera until like it's time to end the podcast or something like that. and I just say all that because they're just being authentically them. So again, if it's important to you for the sake of being important to you to look at the camera and make eye contact and things like that, do that. But don't do it out of like the fear of what other people will think, or what if these people don't like me, or
Pressure.
if these people don't like the authentic you, then they're not your people. Don't worry about
Yeah.
them. That's not the people that you're really going to be serving anyway. So don't worry about them. Just move on.
Life is so much easier when you just honor your own soul
A
and
hundred
stop
percent.
living for other people. And yes, we're human, so like we all fall into the trap. I'm going to always say that because otherwise I feel like there's a lot of pressure behind some of the things. Like, oh my gosh, how can I figure this out? Like, no, you're human. It's a journey. But man, if your soul is screaming, this is super hard work for heavy reasons, yeah, reevaluate. If your soul is screaming, this is really hard work, but oh my God, I feel alive inside, keep going if
And
it suits your soul,
there's nothing wrong with work. Okay.
right?
Don't wait for the little icon on the screen to tell you where to go. Okay. It's okay if you get one, but don't wait on it. My video game reference from earlier.
Yes.
Don't just be like, oh, I can't move unless I have this little icon to tell me exactly where to go. No, figure that out in the process. Look, there's a lot of things that I've been doing recently, and look, it's taken me more time than I wanted it to. But I didn't stop progressing. I didn't stop moving forward. Most of that because I have, again, 4 little ones and the holidays and all that kind of stuff. So, but at the same time, there's times where I would come down here and I would work on it for 5, 10 minutes, or I just look at it on my phone trying to figure things out. Okay. It's just those little incremental steps that I kept taking. And the same thing with working out, eating right, all those kind of things. Start somewhere. You don't have to start with everything. Just start somewhere. Start with one thing. And it's the same way with, road rage or anything else. Just start with that one thing, pattern interrupt. Use our imagination, think about something else, somebody else, someplace else, whatever the case may be. So,
Baby
yeah.
steps are the biggest steps because they create the greatest, more permanent change.
Well, let's flip the script on that. It's just like road rage. Road rage starts with, I can't believe that person cut me off. And after months or something like that of you noticing that and pointing that out, I can't believe those people cut me off. I can't believe this is happening again. Why does this always happen to me? You see the language change? Flip that. Flip that and say, you know, something along the lines of, wow, that's the first time that's ever happened. And I know, and that almost sounds like a lie, right? But just use your imagination. That's the first time that's happened today.
Mhm.
And you will notice how it almost like it'll kind of drain the emotion out of it. Just
Well,
again, that
too,
that
like
one of those things.
when I had when I had that lady flip me off, My first actually initial reaction in thought was, you want them to? Oh, remember this?
People are watching you.
I know they are. Now they know my secret. Fuck you, heart. But the listeners can't see it. Anyways, my initial reaction to what?
We'll be on
Why are you
YouTube. They
pointing?
can see it.
I know YouTube can see it. I say the other listeners cannot see my fuck you heart. If you know me, you know what my fuck you heart looks like. It's just meant for humor. And if you want to see it, I guess you have to go on YouTube and watch. Anyways, my initial thought on the lady was, I wonder what's going on in her world that she's that angry because there was really nothing to be angry about. And that thought right there naturally released a lot of over frustration or over anger on my part because I was like, holy crap, what's going on in her world that she's that angry? There's nowhere to go. Where does she think she's going? So tapping into what the other person might, or sending out curiosity about the other person and what they're experiencing, that can help too, because it takes it off of you instead of you're like, why are they doing that to me? It's kind of like, oh my gosh, what are they going through that they're that angry in life? And I always
Yep.
think those people need the most love. So then I send them energetic love. I know that's corny, but it's true. It's who I am. I'm sappy and I'm corny and I'm full of love. So that's me.
Well, and look, it kind of in closing here, I guess it would be that you think about the whole thing, the little interaction we just had about flipping each other off, and then even the name of our podcast, right? A lot of that stuff, everything in life we attach meaning to. Well, I mean, you're just doing something
Mm-hmm.
back and forth as a joke.
Yeah.
Okay. People will see that, and it will, like, we've, I know I have. I don't know as much about you, but live in different areas. Well, I'll just say that and leave it there. But had a little bit of resistance on the name of this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
And
Even though
and
you're the one that
so
actually came up with it. I
and
was
so
like,
right.
that's it. He's like, no.
Yeah, well, and so it was like, okay, well, it is what it is, but that's because people are attaching their own meaning to that thing because of things that they've heard in their past, right?
Right.
And I, that was one of the things that I processed through about this name was that, hey, and even the bird and everything else, it's like something can be used for anything. It can be used as a joke, can be used as a way to get people to think outside the box, like Unfuck Your Mind podcast. Okay. Things like that are just, we attach meaning to it. We always have that choice. I know sometimes it doesn't feel like it, especially like in road rage in the moment. It's almost like you feel like I have to be angry, or anything else that happens in life of the same. I have to be angry. I have to get vengeance. I have to retaliate some way.
Or even, why wouldn't I feel this way?
Right. And and
Yeah,
and and um so just remember that. Just remember that you always have choice. Even your feelings are choice, because emotions are just energy in motion. So you can choose a different way to route that energy. You can choose to take anger and push it towards something else. Because again, it's just energy in motion in your body. When you let it out, or how you let it out, it's completely up to you. Is a choice that you have to make.
it is. It is a choice. This is a great episode.
It was.
Well, I love them all, but man, this one just like really,
And we are on
it
YouTube,
just
by the
hit.
way. I just got that
Yes, we
downloaded.
are.
Today is Monday. I had a little bit of thing I had to do. Oops, to jump through. But today is Monday, the 13th of January. So it is uploaded now. The first episode from last week, and then I'll start uploading the episode along with the YouTube episode along with the. What am I trying to say here?
I'm not
I will
sure.
upload both at the same time on the podcast, on the just the listening part of it, like Apple and Spotify and all that stuff, and on YouTube at the same time. Hope
Yeah,
that's
we
makes sense.
are on Apple, Spotify, Podcast Index, and Amazon Music and YouTube. I think those are the ones that we're all on.
Yep.
So
That's the ones we're on. So listen to those things, and we do appreciate you listening, as always.
thank you for being my partner in crime, Daniel, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. This is an amazing adventure. It's definitely, we record on Mondays, so it's the perfect way to start our week off right. Yeah, it is. So we appreciate you all. Thank you so much for tuning in and spread the word because we really just want to make an impact on the world and help people realize and understand that the relationship with their self is most important and they always have a choice. No matter what, you always have a choice. So thank
100%.
you.
Thanks for listening.